Hello you guys, and welcome to day 15 of the vlog. Today is Wednesday, the 19th of September, and it's currently lunchtime. We just today had, the day went pretty quickly. The students were first taking their Spanish test, which I was using the platform Socrative, and I thought today I'd go through more of a demo about how to use it. And then for social studies, the kids had their last day to work on these choice projects. Honestly, these kids are so creative, and I'm blown away by their work. I might have to next week feature some of the things they've done because I'm stunned. Like, they are so good. I've got a lot of students doing a historical fiction journal entry. I was reading over them. Amazing work. I had a lot of students doing sketch notes or illustrated notes about one of the battles. Amazing work. Like, so much creativity. I love it. So it's been very fun to kind of look at that. And tomorrow we'll have a couple people do the skit option and they'll share that with the class. So I'm also looking forward to that. A couple students are even making videos, so they're definitely surpassing my expectations. So I'm pretty excited about that. But I wanted to talk a little bit about Socrative because if you haven't been using it, I know it's not as common as Google Forms, but it can make your life so much easier as a teacher. I think I gave a little bit of an overview back in my grading hacks video that I did with Jake, talking about some of our best tips to make grading a more efficient and easier process, but using Socrative makes it really easy. So I wanted to take you through a little bit just to show you kind of what it looked like, especially now that the students have taken their test. All right, so the first step here is to go to Socrative.com. I just have the free account. I'm going to go to teacher login, but when a student's going to take the test, they would go to student login. So we'll do teacher login. All right, so once you get logged in here, I want to show you a few things that you can find. First of all, you can go to the quizzes, or you can launch other things as well. I personally have only used the quiz option, and when you're doing a question, you can do either multiple choice, true, false, or short answer questions. Now, I'm just going to go through how I normally use it. There's other uses as well, but just so you know. For launch, that's kind of where we're at now. So if I wanted to start a quiz, I would go to quizzes. These are quizzes that I have in here, so a lot of social studies tests, as well as Spanish tests. So I'm just going to show you the one that the kids were taking today. So I would go to next. Or after I go to that screen, I'm going to click Open Navigation, which will mean that the students are able to click through different questions. It has names required. I'm going to shuffle questions and shuffle answers. Now, what's amazing about that is that any of the questions, like, if a student has questions showing up for number 4, that number 4 question is going to be different for all the kids. But on my end, when I see the results, it will all be the same. So it's really well done to prevent cheating, and then also show final score, just so then the kids know their score right away. So I would say start, and then it's going to give me this section. You can see here that I've got it currently at show names, show answers. Also, you'll have a room name. So I just had my last name with the number 1 by it for this one, but I'd mix that up sometimes during the year. That would just be the code students use. I always mix it up so it's not the same. I usually increase the number as I go. Let me show you what the student view would look like. So now from the student view, I would actually just go to student login, and it's going to give them the room name. So I'm going to plug in the code, Satani1, perfect, join, and then it's going to ask me for my name. So I'm going to plug in sample, because obviously I'm not a real student. Done. Now I go back to my teacher window, and I can see that sample has started and gotten logged into the system. Let's go back over here then. My quiz started. So how do you say November in English is what this first question says. So I click November, and I would go on to the next one. So when I plug that in, again, the questions are all shuffled. So if I take a look here, because it's all shuffled, it wasn't one of these first questions. That was actually question 19, and I got it correct, so it's showing up green here. But now let me purposely answer the next question wrong. This is a true or false question. So for this question here, it's saying basically in English, today is called tomorrow. That's false. Oh, but I need to answer it fake. So I'm going to answer it purposely incorrect. Move on to the next one. Now, when I go back here and look at the results, you can see that it's highlighted red now because I just got that one wrong. I did not get points for that. It's got progress here. You can change it to be score, like their percentage, or the score they got correct. And then, let's say I'm finished. I'll click finish quiz, and it's going to be like, you didn't do any of these. I'm just going to finish it because it's my sample. 3%. And once it gets to the screen, I tell them they can just X out. Now, once they do submit it, I'm going to see a little check mark come up over here, and that means I know that they have submitted it, they're all done, and then it makes it really easy to go through and look at them. Now I'm going to go show you one of my actual classes just with all the names hidden. But to do that, I'm going to go up to reports, and I'm going to look at this one. I'm going to view chart. And you can see here the names are all hidden. I'm going to keep it that way, but I am going to show their answers. So you can see after a class took it, you can see how students did. It's easy to identify, okay, these students really struggled, or if there's certain questions like, oh wow, look, there were 4 students who got this one wrong. Maybe that's something worthwhile to review. So that's really nice, and I do tell students to put their last names first. Not everyone does, but that can also be very helpful. If you want to change the rooms, you can edit that if you don't have a quiz in session, and you can create quizzes by going to add quiz and then adjusting the questions. So I hope that was a helpful overview of Socrative. I really like using it just because it's very easy on my end. You know, I put the questions together. After that point, it's really nice that I don't have to, you know, spend a really long time grading. I know myself, I'm not always the most efficient grader. That's probably one of my biggest weaknesses as a teacher, just sometimes I'm a little slower on grading things. So if you can automate things a bit, and the kids love knowing right away. Now, some people might feel that doing predominantly multiple choice and true and false and that kind of thing as your quizzes or tests is not ideal. So, you know, that's ultimately your decision. I do have a combination of these, as well as sometimes we'll do more like a written test, or there will be a short answer component. And in those situations, I'd have the multiple choice part all on Socrative, and then I would instead, for those, like have an extra handout or something that the students fill out. So we definitely do a big range. I mean, even though some people hate on multiple choice, if we're being very real, I feel like if you don't do any multiple choice, then you're not really preparing the students as much for some of the high stakes testing where they depend on multiple choice, such as in high school with tests for college, AP tests, and other things like that. It's not like they're going away everywhere else. Even in college too, I took a lot of multiple choice tests, and it makes sense if you've got a large lecture hall or something for a general class, that chances are it's going to be a multiple choice test. So, you know, even though sometimes people criticize the idea of doing multiple choice, I think it's practical in a lot of ways, and we still should be doing that, and you can still make really challenging multiple choice questions too. These Spanish ones are not as challenging because it's mostly do you know the vocab or not, but definitely something to keep in mind. So overall, I really like using Socrative. Now, Jake personally prefers Google Forms, and that's worked well for him. I know he sometimes has questions where if he put together, let's say like a map, and there's 2 or 3 questions they answer using that map, he doesn't want the questions to all be shuffled up. So that's something to keep in mind too. And perhaps, like I've used Google Forms more so for surveys, a couple times for quizzes, but I find it's not as efficient for me to use Google Forms as it is to use Socrative. So that's why I prefer it. Do you have a preference? Have you used either of these platforms before, Socrative or Google Forms? I'd love to hear your thoughts on these in the comments below. So the rest of the school day, I am going to do a bit more grading and organization. After I gave the letters out to students, I feel very calm, because that was something that was on my radar for a long time of like, you have to get this done, get it done. And now that it's done, I think we're more so at a smooth pace for the rest of the year. One thing that was so sweet was that actually one of my students, she wrote me a note. Like I had written notes to the kids yesterday on a half sheet of paper, and she did the same thing. She wrote me a note, and it was so adorable. I'm so appreciative. I just feel like the luckiest teacher. There's great kids everywhere, but I just feel especially lucky with this group. So I'm not gonna get emotionally sappy today because I know that was yesterday's video, but you know, nonetheless, like, you know, right to my heart here, like these kind words mean so much. So today I actually am sticking around after school a bit. The person I carpool with and I are going to be running the after school tutoring program today, and we get to have it in our rooms this year. Last year there was this empty classroom that was always used, but since we have extra students in the 6th grade, they don't have extra rooms anymore. So whoever is hosting it and leading it gets to have it in their classroom. So I'm kind of excited to see if anyone's going to show up. I did tell my 8th grade students if they needed more time on their Civil War project, project that they could come in, I'd be there to help answer questions. So it's usually nice, pretty laid back, but also fun to help the kids out. And sometimes we even get a few like grading things done. So that's always a nice bonus. But that's kind of what's on the agenda for today. And then, I mean, we're moving through this week really fast, just a couple days left. Oh, and I'm pretty excited for my Encore class. We're doing this career trade-offs activity. I'll probably have to make a bigger video about this, just how we teach careers in college classes, but I really like this lesson. I put together kind of a slideshow with some different questions and then an application sheet where the students are thinking about 3 jobs they're interested in, and with each job they have to kind of evaluate this job based upon some different characteristics. I feel like in society, so many people blindly have their sights set on a certain job without really reflecting about all parts of that job. And you'll never fully know until you're actually in the job, but I think as a society, we can do a little better about thinking about how every job has trade-offs. There's positives and negatives with every job, and it just kind of depends what the best fit for your lifestyle is. So I'm very excited to do that activity, and you'll probably get a full report on one of our upcoming days.